Protected wilderness areas in Mozambique are known as conservation areas and are categorized according to their land use. No consumptive utilization of natural resources is allowed within national parks, national reserves, and forest reserves. Sustainable consumptive utilization is permitted in community wildlife utilization areas, private game farms, and state hunting areas, which are known as coutadas. Coutada 11 is situated in central Mozambique, approximately 30 miles inland from the coast. Sections of the area lie within the Zambezi River delta. Before 1974, this 500,000-acre hunting block was one of Africa's finest. Mark Haldane of Zambezi Delta Safaris is the current lessee of Coutada 11.
I'm Mark Haldane from Zambezi Delta Safaris. We're in coastal Mozambique here. Coutada 11 is 500,000 acres of pristine wilderness. What's so unique about this area is we have several major ecosystems. We have proper swamps with papyrus and lots of water. We have big open floodplains, tropical savannas with short palms and lots of lush vegetation, sand forests with all the little antelope like Livingston, Suni, blue duiker, and then we go into mature miombo woodland. What that enables us to do is host a great variety of wildlife in this area. I've been here 29 years. This is my 30th season. It wasn't always like this. When I started here in 1994, it was a totally different picture. Having just come out of a civil war, the game had been absolutely plundered here. There were tiny pockets of game left behind, but not really a viable population at that stage. Before the war, these areas here were pretty much meat factories for the local population. There was a lot of poaching. If you read a lot of the old books, the likes of Harry Manners, they make reference to it. During the war, everybody moved out of these areas towards the bigger villages where they were given protection from the local military. And after the war, these areas were pretty much devoid of people. We employed about 20 people. They came back with their families, and slowly the original families gravitated back towards their original villages within the area. And before we knew it, they were kind of heading back down the same path, living off subsistence farming and poaching. We had about 5 or 6 little villages within our area. We realized over the years that for us to really bring this area back to its former glory, we would need to move those villages. It's a difficult thing to ask people to move from their, from their traditional homes. So we engaged the local administrator. We explained the whole situation. She bought into the project, and she went and spoke to the villagers herself. The amazing thing is we didn't have resistance from one single village. It was done very amicably. She valued their houses. She got an agricultural expert to value their fields and their crops, and they were all compensated. We didn't have one single person who didn't want to move. But the results were absolutely incredible. Someone far cleverer than me, Dr. Richard Belfus, a zoologist, explained to me that all over the world a similar scenario has played out, that when game has been plundered, it gravitates back towards an area of protection and an area of prime habitat. And by chance, the Coutada 11 just happened to be that area. So these little pockets of game slowly gravitated back here, and our numbers started to increase. 2 of our species that we believe are our indicator species on poaching are warthogs and inyala. Warthogs will pretty much walk the same path every day. So very easy if you observe which path he walks on, where to set your gin trap or your snare. Inyala come out in the same glade every evening in the forest and walk down the same path too. So very easy species to poach. We moved the last villages 3 years ago, about 500 people in total, and the game has just absolutely bounced back in those areas. Inyala, seeing 20 or 30 bulls in a bachelor herd is not unusual, and warthogs, a census just on the floodplain showed about 5,000. So our numbers have really come back phenomenally. But the one thing that we don't really measure so much are all the lesser species. Pangolin, aardvark, genets, civets, honey badgers, porcupines. These were all byproducts, or possibly targeted as well. And the numbers of them and the encounters we're having with those species nowadays are regular. So it was the right decision. Probably the right decision for our local community, and certainly the right decision for conservation and this area.